Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast with Jason
And John.
and special guest.
Connor.
What's up, Connor?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we talk about you nearly every episode, but this time
I figure I had to make the trek, since you keep talking about me and the rankings that shall not be named until January 1st, so...
Exactly. And what's great is that Jason lives on literally the opposite side of the county from where you and I live, so it's so it's like a journey to get out here.
And somehow I get you both to come out here, and he even brings me my what is my drink for this segment.
Yeah, for our drinking segment, you guys brought some indigenous beverages from St. Cloud. And Connor, why don't you explain what you brought from St. Cloud?
Sure. So, the beer that I brought today is called Selkie Pale Ale. It comes from Beaver Island Brewing in St. Cloud. It was brewed actually for St. Cloud State's 150th anniversary. And it does go to charity, actually, as every can that is sold, a portion goes to support Husky scholarships.
That's awesome. Yeah, I saw those banners around campus when we were up there. And now didn't you visit Beaver Island, the brewery in downtown?
I did, as you and Bridget were visiting the carnival up there.
Yes, the outdoor carnival with outdoor carnival rides, which I don't know why anybody thinks that that's a good idea when it's 20 degrees out. You were not down for it.
Yeah.
But Amy tried to shame us. Amy Miller, who was also on the trip, she tried to shame. She was looking for people to hang out with and go on those rides, specifically the Purple Dragon, tilt-a-whirl ride. And so, we helped her out while you were in the warm brewery enjoying some adult beverages.
Yes, and I did have a good time. It's a great atmosphere at that brewery right there at downtown.
Awesome.
So if any of our listeners are up in St. Cloud, make sure you give that a try.
Yeah, and support scholarships at the school. Now I have, and I got this at the gas station as I was leaving town, I have Spring Grove Soda Pop Black Cherry Classic Fountain Drink, which is from Spring Grove, Minnesota, which I looked it up. It looks like it's in the southeast corner of the state where absolutely nothing appears to be going on. But I thought I'd give it a try. So you guys have already been sampling the Selkie Pale Ale. I'm going to try this.
First swig.
It's pretty good. It tastes like black cherry soda. So I doubt it's as good as your guys' deal. But as you guys know, I don't drink, so I'll enjoy that. But Connor, thank you so much for bringing that back.
I say thank you very much. It's quite good. Quite good. So, since you guys made the trip, I unfortunately was not on the trip. My daughter having a hockey tournament in Austin, Minnesota.
I think you could have driven up from
like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's a pretty short drive. It's like
short.
Driving from Omaha to Kansas City. Driven up.
Yeah, because I do that.
I don't know. We're questioning
this is like a third of the way to Colorado.
Yeah, we're questioning your dedication to this podcast. You're in the state and you don't drive up for at least one of the games.
All right, I forced my wife to drive in the middle of the night on her drive up there so that I could sit in the passenger seat and watch the Friday night game. And I'm probably the only person in the bar on Saturday night who's sitting there glued to their phone while some rock band goes, "Dude, you be quiet! You're interrupting my hockey game."
Well, yeah, you missed kind of an eventful series. I mean,
well, outside of the hockey game, the hockey game itself was not very eventful.
Yeah, you wouldn't be wrong. But...
You wouldn't be wrong. I mean, I will tell you, on Friday night, the 2-0 game, we lost 2-0, but I thought they played pretty well throughout most of the game. It was the first part of the first period, I think, was probably the toughest for UNO. But then the rest of the way, they just couldn't get any offense going in that game.
Yeah, it was just their goalie, which name's escaping me right
David
now.
David Hrenak.
David Hrenak was just a wall. He was just a wall.
He played really well.
Played very well, and just basically them and he and his defense just stymied the Mavericks for the entire game. There were some brief chances, especially, I would say in the second period.
There were.
But Mavericks were just not able to overcome that.
It was tough. I think Sam Spomer on Twitter, who's recovering op, said it was one of those games that easily could have been 3-2 UNO. It also could have been 7-0 St. Cloud during that game. I mean, I mean, Jason, you watched it on your phone. I mean, I thought, a lot of people were down after that game, but I thought, holding that score to 2-0, because you never know, in the second or third period, some bounces could have gone our way, and it could have been a different outcome. I mean, I thought they played well, and honestly, Evan Winninger had a terrific night. I mean, I think you would agree with that too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he had 36 saves out of 38 shots on goal. So he was a point person that night. Made sure that the Mavericks were in a position to win that game if they were able to get their offense going.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what stood out to me is early on in the season we kind of mentioned it, that before the season started, where's the goals going to come from? We lost quite a bit of our scoring prowess with the seniors that graduated. And, I mean, we knew that Morelli was going to be not necessarily, I don't know about reliable, but, he's kind of where you look to a consistency standpoint for goal production. We hoped Olsen could come out and put some points on the board, but you get teams like St. Cloud that are out there and know how to lock down one line. If you don't have secondary scoring, we're going to have a lot of games like that down the second half of the season.
Right. St. Cloud's a tough team across the board. I mean, they're good in all facets of the game. So
the now number one team.
Absolutely.
For a reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was. So I was kind of hopeful after that Friday night game. I mean, I thought that we had an opportunity potentially the next night. Apparently I was kind of wrong about that. So then you fast forward to Saturday night, and we give up that goal, which was kind of a breakdown on our team. The first goal to St. Cloud, and I believe it was Blake Lazat who scored that goal.
Okay.
And I can't remember. I believe it was a turnover that led to that goal. Can you?
I believe so. And it was just kind of continuing that pattern for UNO throughout the season where
the mental breakdown.
We have to give up that first goal within the first couple of minutes. It kind of frustrates me every time, but it seems like, all of our wins, all of our losses, it's been that same pattern.
It is, and it's so frustrating because it creates this little, kind of hill you have to climb early on. And I thought Tristan Keck played really well on Saturday night, and then I thought Tyler Weiss played really well. And Tyler Weiss got his first point, which I know Jason is very excited about. He got an assist early in the game. Evan Winninger also got an assist on that goal.
Which they added late.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, it was. So, Zach Jordan on that goal. But, I believe, Tyler Weiss was one of the few bright spots of that game, if not the bright spot.
And we were excited because our group there, we were sitting by you, Connor. Our group there was very excited to have an opportunity to get to cheer for a goal. And then St. Cloud came down and scored right away in pretty short order. And we're like, because, I hate that when it happens because it's a complete momentum killer. But at least we got to cheer for that early on and think we may have a shot.
It's very odd to me because typically in the past, a larger sheet of ice, the Olympic ice up there in St. Cloud, that it usually produces more points. They usually have more offense in those kinds of games. And I don't know what it is with UNO, but even last season, it seems like we struggle a lot on larger sheets. Cairo College, St. Cloud.
Yeah, it just seems, and it wasn't just this season. It was last, past few seasons where we just can't adjust to the wider ice. That when we put the puck down in the opposing zone and stuff, we just don't know, how to handle that in the Olympic ice as well as we would, at Baxter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. It's always interesting because there have been some UNO teams that have played really, really well over the last decade on the Olympic. I remember some of the early Dean Blaze teams here really performed well on that, but these, for whatever reason, they've struggled against St. Cloud. Last year, it was a tough, 4 games that we played against them last year, and this year so far, it's looking like it's going to be tough. And they're a terrific team anyway, so I mean, I can't.
I mean, they're definitely a national championship contender.
Right.
And, that plays a part. You have to play, as we've, John and I said in the beginning of the season, you have to play a full 60 minutes of hockey, of good hockey against a team like St. Cloud or like Notre Dame.
And unfortunately, there have just been a lot of games where they haven't played a full 60 minutes of good, solid, fundamental hockey, and that's been the tough thing to see. It's the inconsistency. It has kind of become the consistency this year. When
it seems like even games where we're playing, really, really well, there's that moment that the guys just seem to check out. They're instantaneously. It's like they're not playing the system. They're one bad breakdown in our zone and the puck's in the back of the net, and now we're playing from behind. And I think that part of that is, I know a lot of people will say part of that is just a young team having to learn how to win, but we've got too much senior leadership to chalk it off to a young team, I think. Yeah,
it's one of those things. I mean, I was thinking about this today. I mean, because this is obviously Gabinet's second season as head coach.
As head coach, right?
Yes. And obviously he was there as an assistant the season before. But you ask yourself are they doing something so outrageously different when it comes to practice and game prep? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying, is it so different that the players are having a tough time picking up on this, or is there just some sort of a disconnect? You guys are looking at me like have no idea, but it's like none of us really have any idea. We're all, I think that's what we're all kind of wondering, don't you? Wouldn't you
I guess
agree?
That's been kind of the frustrating part of the season is, why are they not performing to the level that they need to? What is going on in practice? What is going on in their heads that's not getting them over the top? What is in that leadership translating?
That experience translating into more results. Success. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think the question then is can they perform at that level? Is it possible, or is it a talent thing? Is this a team that's they just don't have what they need at this point in time to compete with Duluth, St. Cloud, Denver, Notre Dame, those types of teams? And as a fan, I want to say no. Like, as a fan, I want to say, we've got it. We can do it. We just have to put all the puzzle pieces together. And it's kind of one of those things, if it clicks, it's going to, everything's going to right the ship and we're going to be good. But then the realist in me is still going, like, I look at that going, we don't seem to have it. Well, I don't think we got it.
I'm of the belief that we do have that talent. We do have that talent. It's just there's been nothing to show that throughout the season that we have that talent on this team.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of it. And, I'm optimistic that, the second half of the season, maybe we can get some stuff clicking. We've got a few weeks before Alaska Anchorage to maybe just work it out, do a complete reset. But, if you don't, then it may not be a good season, second half for the Mavs.
It could be tough, and that's the thing. I don't, like you said, they've got a few weeks here. You've got Anchorage coming in, who has won one game this season, I think. I mean, it's been, so there's an opportunity there to get a couple of good wins at the end of December, go into the new year with a little bit of momentum. But you do wonder. I mean, you do wonder if this is something that can be fixed during the season, or if it's one of those things where at the end of the season they're just going to have to. The coaches are going to have to put everything on the table and say, is it a player issue? Is it the systems we're running? Is it the way we're doing game prep and practice? Are those things we're going to have to. I would imagine if the season doesn't end well, they're going to have to make some adjustments in those areas, one way or another. But it does make you wonder with 10 freshmen or more coming in next season. I mean, it could be rough waters, next season too, when you've got a lot of young guys who don't have a lot of experience playing at the collegiate level. And it's just interesting. I mean, we're 4-10-2. It's been a rough first half of the season, and you're always hopeful that they can go 500 or better in those games in the second half, but if they don't, it could be, we could have some very interesting discussions on this podcast, on Twitter, on Facebook, on all of those social media forums. So, and
I think that's a good segue into talking about, as fans, where is the line? Like, what are we, is there a point where it goes beyond us critiquing the team to us being a little, I don't know, vindictive or something? Because quite honestly, if we lose to, even if we split against Alaska, I think that there's going to be a lot of haters come out of the woodwork.
It's going to be rough. I'll just say this as the oldest guy in the room. Back when we started Mavpuck in 2000, I mean, the first few seasons that we had the message board were pretty good. And then we got to the 03-04 season, which, interestingly enough, at this point in the 03-04 season, which was the season where they only won 8 games, we had an identical record to the UNO team back then, had an identical record to the 2018 incarnation of the team. And that was one of those seasons, and that was an era where UNO was kind of a second half team back then. So we were all just kind of waiting for them to get going in the second half, but it never happened. And obviously the discussions became, people were analyzing a lot of stuff, and people kind of questioned, should you be saying things that are, critical of the team performance, critical of how they look on the ice, those types of things? Or should it be, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all? I don't.
All right, Mom.
Well, it's one of those things. Obviously, as the guy who ran, this was before Facebook and Twitter, so as the guy who ran the message board, there was a lot of like focus on me, and then I felt like, oh my gosh, should I be writing hurt on people? I mean, I feel like, sports discussion is what the internet was made for. And so I feel like it's better to have fans engaged talking about the team than, not. But I mean, what do you guys think?
I mean, it's that fine line. It's, I myself had to walk it, especially since I was an employee of UNO until recently.
Sure.
And so I had to be positive most of the time.
Right.
About hockey. I might have let myself a little bit go, maybe on the Mavpuck group, but at least outwardly, I've had to be even if we weren't performing that well, try to be as positive.
Smile and nod.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But now I have a little bit more freedom to express my feelings, and I'm not one to call out individual players' performances.
Right.
Every player has good nights. Every player has bad nights.
Sure.
And I'm going to say maybe so and so had an off night, and that might have contributed. But I'm not going to necessarily get in their head, as they say. And figure out call out this person's performance or that person's performance.
And generally we don't see it. More of it's the team just didn't look ready tonight. The team didn't perform well. That's usually the kind of comments that you hear. I mean, it's interesting because obviously, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that, anybody go to Twitter looking for positive reinforcement on anything in life because you're probably not going to find it. Honestly, I think because obviously all three of us know a lot of the fans that are active on social media surrounding this team. And so I think people are pretty diplomatic, but it can get rough, and it could get rough.
And it can get heated because, especially, take Saturday's game.
Sure.
It was a very, very disappointing loss.
Yes.
St. Cloud ran up the score on us. And there were a few fans that, were very, animated on Twitter.
Right.
And you can understand that to a point. You want to vent your frustrations. That's what Twitter, that's what Facebook is for.
Right.
But, you don't want to get to the point where you are criticizing an individual player. And it didn't last night. Or it didn't Saturday. But, there have been times in the past where it's gotten heated to the point where...
Sure.
Yeah, I see it a lot. And I think, for me, the line is that if we're... First off, I think that to play devil's advocate before I get into my opinion, to play devil's advocate with it is that if you're going to say so-and-so had a good game, or, like you had said earlier, Riley Alford stood out to you, Tyler Weiss with his assists,
right.
He played good games, and that, like, if you're gonna call out players for having done well in a game, you can likewise say so-and-so had a bad game. To me, I think the line is drawn at the point where you say someone's performance in a game is in any way indicative of them as a human being. Because I see a lot of times, I remember watching DU, we were tied and there was like 20 seconds left in the game. I mean, just eat the puck. Like, you don't try to do something stupid, and the guy comes around the back of the net, fires the puck across the center line. It gets cut off, and it's in the back of our net with like 8 seconds left to go, and we end up losing. And I remember the number of people that were just so down on that guy. I just don't think it's ever that, like, he made a bad play. He made a really bad decision, and that's what it is. Like, he learns from it. You got to remember too, these are, especially compared to us, like, they're kids. They're 18, 19, 20. Like, most of them can't sit here and drink 2 of the 3 things on our table. So
they can drink my drink. Anybody can
have
drink.
Some fun with John.
That's right. Pee-wees can drink the drink on my table.
So I think that's the key is to remember, for our fans and stuff and our listeners that are out there, like, I think it's okay for you to say, like, so-and-so just didn't have a good game. They need to learn from this. I think that's okay. I just don't ever say that, so-and-so's a bad player, or, I don't know why we have him on the team. Like, all those types of things.
Yeah,
the
ones that get kind of snarky and personal. I think, like you were mentioning that particular play at DU, I think, like, for example, if an inopportune penalty is taken, that's kind of a cheap penalty, that's one of those situations where I'm like, that could turn the game and lead to another team scoring. That's one where you might want to say, they shouldn't have, that was not a smart play.
Classic example from this season. Galt gets thrown out because he comes off the bench, and I don't know, apparently he butt ends a guy. I still don't believe I ever saw that, but whatever. I think that was just fabricated. I think he came off the bench. I think that's the big thing. But in any case, like, I thought he played a really good game, and I bumped into him after the Saturday night game and told him this. I said, I thought you played a great game, and I didn't tell him this part, but I think he made one bad decision. He got involved in something that I have a hard time faulting him for, because I really want you to stand up when someone runs Evan.
Yeah, you definitely do. You mentioned that. Was that last episode, or was that
2 episodes? It was a Colorado College game.
Yeah, so it was the last episode. Yeah,
and so like, I don't know. It's hard for me, because I think that he played a good game and he made a bad decision, and that's all there is to it. Nothing against the guy. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a good player. I just think he made a bad decision in a game that he was playing well. That's what it is.
And that, that happens throughout the season from game to game. So, yeah, I know it's one of those things where obviously you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to look like a jerk about stuff. I mean, but by the same token, in the ebb and flow of discussion, that stuff is probably going to come up. Part of it just depends on how tactful the person is who's discussing it, because as we all are aware, on the internet there are a seemingly endless supply of people who lack tact. Comments. So I guess we would probably encourage fans to be more tactful and give a little bit more thought about what it is that they are.
Yeah, constructive criticism.
Right, and be a little more analytical.
Be more analytical, because at the end of the day, yeah, players are going to read this, coaches are going to read this, and is that a bad thing? No.
Right.
Ryan Galt called out, certain tweets on one of the press conferences earlier in the season. That's why he wasn't on Twitter for a while.
Right.
Which might have been actually.
You too.
I think.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
I will admit I have there have been a time or two this season I have said, did they give a complete effort? Did they play a whole 60-minute game? And I know you've.
And I've said the same thing.
Said the thing, and again, it goes back to the fan that obviously the players are going to be players and the fans are going to be fans. And you and I like to talk about the team on social media, and a lot of people do. We enjoy the team, and like all the other college hockey fans on there, we like to kind of commiserate about the games, and I think you and I tend to be pretty thoughtful individuals and not terribly reactionary, but it's one of those things. And like I said, having run Mavpuck for, it'll be 19 years in January. I mean, wow. Yeah, it's one of those things where you do, because I will say this too. I've gotten criticized because of the comments that have been on that message board over the years, just because people can get, kind of squirrely and frustrated. Obviously now there aren't a lot of people on the message board, so it's the most sedate place on the internet. So if you're looking for kind of a calm, kind, and gentler and analytical place where it's mainly Connor and I and a few others who post right now, check out the Mavpuck message board. But like I said, it's one of those things where, like I said, it's a fine line, and you want to be a good fan and you want to be supportive, and so I think you try to balance that stuff. But it's always a tough thing talking about sports on the internet and trying to maintain a rational point of view.
And like you said, keep in mind that they're not professional athletes.
No, but many of them want to be professional athletes. So this is the type of thing that
it's a learning thing,
right?
You're not it's not going to fly if you're playing NHL and you react the way that some of these guys have reacted to fans and their engagement with them. And I think that coaches is trying to teach them how to play hockey at the next level. Part of the education process is how do you treat the people who really want to see you succeed. They want to see the team succeed. They, like anyone, they have off nights. They say things that maybe they regret, and you got to have a little bit of duck feathers and let water roll off your back.
Well, you look at that. I was watching an ESPN documentary on Duke basketball recently, and they actually encourage their players to use Twitter and social media, but they have a person there who trains them about using it. And that's one of those things, the bigger universities and the bigger programs are able to do that. Obviously, UNO is probably not a program, but it's an interesting thing because they talk about it, using that tool to further your career and further your opportunities after you play at the school. So it's kind of one of those interesting things. I mean, I like to see the players on there, and obviously we like to tag them when they score a goal or have a good game or one of the 3 stars. So
yeah, and that's just an important thing to have is player fan engagement.
Yeah,
because when the players are engaged with the fans and the fans are engaged with the players, then you build interest in the program.
Yeah,
a large part of it is winning.
Right.
But when you don't have that, like this season, that's when the other parts of the fan experience is key.
Exactly. And there
that's
aren't
one part of it.
Yeah, and there aren't always a lot of engagement opportunities the past several years. And when you don't get to know the players on the ice, then they just become kind of pieces on a chessboard. You know, it's you just see them as kind of the stat sheet. You know, you don't have that, you know, give and take that, you know, we as fans are human beings. We're not just, you know, Twitter personalities, and they as players are human beings too. And so, you know, that was one of the things, Connor, you and I got to experience at the St. Cloud game after the Saturday game. They had a couple cool things. Number one, they would have their season ticket holder of the game that they announced during the game, which I thought was really cool. I think UNO should do that, but then they would have to announce that Bridget and I at some point were, you know, the season ticket holder of the game. And
not going to happen.
Literally the last season ticket holder. Like, we've got. You sure no one signed up last week?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We've gotten rid of that promotion. We have now changed it to something new, so we can recycle all the people we've honored the last 4 years. So there's that. And then the second thing that they did, which I thought was really cool, was on Saturday night they start their games earlier. So they start them at 6:05, 6:07 instead of the 7 o'clock hour. And they had a skate with the Huskies after the game, and I think you got to skate with both the men's and women's team. And so it was an opportunity where fans could bring their skates or go back out to their car afterwards and go down on the ice and skate with the team. And it wasn't just the 12 and under set, which I know Jason has, you know, 12 and under set in his house that enjoy doing the skate with the Mavs, but you know, families could get out there on the ice with the players and skate and get to meet them and get to know them. And that's usually how skate with the Mavs had been, you know, years and years ago. But those are just great opportunities to get to know these players. And I think that that's a really important part of the program, like you say, Connor, especially in those seasons where things aren't going well. It's a good idea to have that bond between fans and players that's kind of been developed over the course of a few years. So hopefully UNO can do more of those things going forward.
Do you think that things like that influence, you know, what we just talked about with the banter between fans and players? Do you think that if the university had more events where they could interact and we could, you know, seem like they're real human beings and not just, you know, guys out there playing hockey, like there's you learn about, like, I just think that, you know, with my kids and stuff, they've been fortunate enough that some of the players have really engaged with them, and they've been, you know, great about saying hi to them when they see them. They recognize them even when they're not. We've gone to volleyball games and seen the hockey players, and they recognize my daughter. And so I don't know. Part of me thinks that I have a different interpretation of who they are because we've been allowed to have that kind of interaction. So do you think if they open this up beyond just player and kid kind of thing, and it became more of a player fan kind of engagement stuff, that would help with this?
I believe it would.
Yeah.
I mean, UNO already does a few things like the season ticket pickup event this year where they had the players there. And then, you know, skate with the Mavs, which I'm assuming will be in the second half of the season. But, you know, it would be nice to have some more kind of organic opportunities. Because, you know, you have those experiences because you're in the hockey community.
Right.
A lot of our fans are not.
Right.
They're either casual fans or, you know, they've been hockey season ticket holders forever, but they're not involved in the other aspects. So it would be nice to have more events where the players, you know, are just coming up, you know,
right, exactly,
just talking.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be autograph and then, you know, run away. It's more of, you know, hey, how are you doing? You know, thanks for your support. You know, and just kind of have those conversations.
Right. And in the early years of the program, they used to have things like a preseason picnic, and they would have hockey 101s at a local watering hole where you could ask a couple players the questions and things like that. And it was just a chance to go up and shake their hands and chat with them about, you know, what are you studying in school? You know, how are things going for you? How was your summer? I think those are really important, and it seems like the trend has been away from those things. Obviously, like Jason said, they do stuff with the youth hockey community, and that's an important thing to do to develop the game. But, a lot of fans like Connor and we're helping to pay the bills at Baxter Arena, and, we don't have kids. We don't play, rec hockey or adult rec hockey. We don't have kids playing youth hockey. And so having those opportunities where we can interact with the players, and I know that their time is valuable, but I think part of the experience as fans and part of the experience for the players, it should be, kind of getting to interact with fans. And UNO has a small enough kind of niche fan base that I think that those things could happen more and more. And I think that they should. I sometimes think that the athletic department takes a little bit of a bunker mentality sometimes, and it's easier to do that. And I think a lot of people are always wary of things, but I'll just say this. We're really nice fans. I know most of the fans that are active on social media, we're not scary. We're really fun people to be around. So I think it helped build camaraderie between the team and the community to have more of those events.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it would be positive reinforcement for the team because they're seeing all these fans that, hey, I really want to support you. I really want to get to know you. And that just had, it's just that positive reinforcement for these student athletes. Because, they're not only being asked to play hockey most weekends from October to March, but they also have to worry about their studies, and they have practices throughout. And other commitments that they need to take care of. So having these events is not only beneficial for the fans, it's also really beneficial for the players themselves.
Absolutely.
So what about other events? You guys had mentioned when we were prepping about St. Cloud doing the teddy bear toss and the skate and that, and we just came off of our huge successful Harry Potter night at Baxter Arena.
We had a Star Wars night last year, didn't we? On kind of that weekend, didn't we? Yeah.
We had to start. Yeah, we had a. Was it that weekend that we had?
Yeah, it was either that week or one run around.
I'd take Star Wars night over Harry Potter any day of the week.
Oh yeah, you and I are big Star Wars fans. I don't know how you feel about this. Okay, so
I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm not as big as a Harry Potter fan, but I do understand. There are fans.
There
out
there
are.
Really like absolutely.
I'm against them. Just not my cup of tea.
Somebody got very offended when I didn't post Harry Potter night in one of my recaps, so I made sure to put it on there. So.
Yes, you must get all of the just so you know, we get criticized as fans too. Believe me, when we're not doing our job, I get the hey, why didn't you guys do this, or why didn't you? Or the other one I get is the why'd you guys spend the first 20 minutes talking about what you were drinking on that podcast? I tried listening to your podcast and I couldn't get through that 3-minute segment. I'm like, okay, guys.
So for all of you out there, just so you know, there's this little bar thing at the bottom of the podcast, and every place it is, just skip 10 minutes in and you'll be fine.
But sometimes,
sometimes
we do curse the players. I was hoping that would happen this weekend. It didn't quite, but again, it works.
It only worked once somehow.
I would love to see the teddy bear toss thing, just because I think it's super fun to be able to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the teddy bear toss, it'd be great to have it at UNO just because, we have Toys for Tots here.
Right.
Which, there were some issues with that, but, it was a really good event that day. But to have something that's more visible.
Exactly, more visual.
More visual, where you're throwing a big, huge teddy bear onto the ice. And you see it everywhere. We weren't the only one, or St. Cloud wasn't the only one doing it. Colorado College was doing it the same day.
Union did it last weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's lots of AHL teams that also do this as well.
Yep.
And it's a great visible thing of donating things to the community.
Right.
So, something visible. And, if you're not having if your team's not having a good day,
You still
Saturday,
participate in something like that.
You still participate in something, and it feels really good to throw something.
Absolutely. And in my case, it was throwing a stuffed, husky that we found at IKEA the day before. It was just great throwing that husky out there. It was like toss that husky onto the ice, which it resulted in a St. Cloud fan hugging me as I was walking up the stairs, which was incredibly awkward. And apparently this guy later on at the red carpet got tossed out, according to Amy and Connor. So
I can't confirm this.
yes, but again, look at that. Look at the positive. I was able to interact with a fan of another team, shake his hand, say hello, and he was so excited that I was throwing a husky and I had the other team's gear on. So this is yet another event. But like Connor said, it's a visible thing that people can take pictures of. It can be filmed. It's social media friendly, and that's the kind of things that I think they need to continue to do. But like I said, doing things like the preseason picnic, the hockey 101s that they would do, one in the first half of the season and the second half of the season, where a coach would come out, or a couple of coaches and a player, and they do equipment demonstrations. They would break down video. They would talk about some of the plays that they run, the power play, penalty kill, etc. And so you learned a lot and you had fun, and it kind of built camaraderie among the fans and among the team. So that's all I got to say about that.
That's all I'd say about that.
We'll see if they do it, but I think that they should.
Yeah, and just going off John, UNO does a few things already.
Right.
So,
Right.
But it would be nice to have something on a consistent basis. Maybe not every week.
Right.
But every other home series. You do a Star Wars night, you do a Harry Potter night, you do
Sure.
a retro night.
Do Jersey night. I mean, that would be, yeah. I'd like to see more people in jerseys at the game.
Exactly, either Mavs jersey or maybe
Lancers
Jake Gensel jersey.
Sure.
Something like that. And then make a calendar of events so you can generate buzz before the event. Be like, look at somebody can look at the calendar online and be like, oh, I see there's a 90s retro night.
Exactly.
Let's go to this.
That's the
Right.
biggest thing, and I think that's one of the problems that they ran into with the whiteout last year. These are the things that they need to, like, during the spring and summer months, come up with a master schedule of things you're going to do, because they know what the schedule is going to be, maybe give or take a couple of games, a couple series, and set the calendar to do these things. That way they can start promoting them well in advance so people have more notice, because it's awfully hard to get the message out. Working in marketing communications, you have to, hit these people 4 or more times before the message sinks in. So yeah, that's a absolutely great idea, Connor, is to, set a calendar. And a lot of these things are low and no cost things to do. So it's not like it costs the university a lot of money, but it helps build goodwill. And it makes it more than just going and watching a hockey game. So.
Right. It adds to that. Yeah, it adds to that engagement. It's something that you want to do. I mean, you should be going to the game for hockey.
Right.
But, I understand
Right.
there are some people that, they go, for the event. It sounds cool.
Yep.
Their friends are going. So having those types of fan events will get more people in the door.
Exactly.
And I hope Coach does, I think, even more with Gabnet than with Blaise, that the players are more engaged in the youth hockey community. And I think that even just seeing them out there as volunteer coaches for, initiation programs or learn to play programs, or even to do their own after the season's over, to do their own, learn to play hockey with the Mavs kind of thing, and let the kids come out and, teach the kids and stuff. Like, even as an adult, just to see them interact that way puts a human element to it. I think that things like what the Blue Line Club did with that dinner, I think is an outstanding idea, because again, like you both said, I mean, it's just an opportunity for fans to engage with the players on a level, real layer. It's not a us and them kind of thing. And part of me, I think it's kind of weird, is that it seems like every season ticket holder event that UNO does is basically your chance to get them to sign a poster, and it's probably the same poster you had at the last one.
Right.
Right.
So do something different. Like I can't remember. It was a D3 team that someone posted to me and said, "Have you ever heard of anyone doing this?" And I was like, "I've never seen this before." They did a campus scavenger hunt where for 2 hours you had a sheet and it gave you clues to where to find players, and they were hanging out in a library, or they were at the back end of the rink, and so you're like traveling all over their campus hunting down the hockey players, and you're having to find them. Like, that would be so much fun.
That's a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I look at it this way. Coach Gabinet talks a lot about building culture. And I think part of the culture is that, we can all maybe be a team together. Because like I said, our fans aren't scary. We're really fun people. I meet new fans every year. And it's a great group. And it's part of the reason I enjoy UNO hockey are the fun things that, the fun experiences we get to share. Like being up in St. Cloud with my niece Lauren, who is a trader and is in her second year at St. Cloud. But Connor... Never forget. Connor, Amy, Bridget. I mean, we were all up there and we were just having fun. And it reminded me of some of the hockey trips we took, a decade ago. And it's just a great chance for fans to bond. And we would love the opportunity to get to know the players a little bit better. So I hope maybe they'll consider implementing some more things, because I think it's great for them to be out in the community interacting with the people who are cheering them on throughout the season.
Yeah.
And it gives us someone to console us when they're having a bad season, and
that's right.
We can all be together in our misery.
That's right.
Drown them in a pint of
we all our group therapy that we conduct every week on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media platforms.
So, anything else you guys have before we wrap up this edition of the Mavpuckcast?
I mean, I think we've covered a lot here today. Connor, how was your experience on this first podcast?
It was a great experience. I wasn't shooed away the first 5 minutes like I thought it was going to be.
That's it. You're cut off.
Yeah.
Connor, go back upstairs. We're going to stop and we're going to re-record from the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't say anything I shouldn't have said, so it's.
You were on point. You were on message.
Thank you.
I'm always happy when I get out and not dropping like an F-bomb or something. So good job.
Exactly. Well, if you would like to be part of our community, be sure to follow Mavpuck on Twitter and Facebook, and you can find links to our social media channels at mavpuck.com. You can also find links to all of the back episodes of this. And if you haven't listened, we've got a couple weeks off, so the time you would have been spending watching the games, you should get caught up on all these episodes. Tell your spouse, tell your family. You're going to be listening to the Mavpuckcast over this next coming holiday time here we're experiencing now here in December. So,
and on that topic of the break, though, we are not taking a break, are we?
No, we are going to have a special holiday episode coming up here in the next couple weeks.
Woo! Christmas special!
Yay!
That's right. And Bridget wanted us to be sure to ask you guys if you had any ideas for...
Gift ideas for Mav fans, right?
Yeah, gift ideas for Mav fans.
Send them our way.
Tweet us.
Facebook.
At Mavpuck on Twitter. I don't know if you guys will actually do it, but Connor will.
Oh, I definitely will. I've got some ideas.
Yeah, Connor's really been good about supporting us. So thank you. Thank you for bringing the Selkie Pale Ale. That was great for the drink segment. It supports a really good cause.
It was. Awesome job. Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us on the
You're
podcast
welcome.
today.
Thanks for having me on.
It's been great.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you in the next episode.
Go Mavs.
Go Mavs.